What I don't understand is why you don't just use the roar to give your friend the water she needs.
What? You can do that?
What are you talking about?
Mom?
King Simba's son Kion was more than that. In addition to protecting the Pride Lands and serving as the Lion Guard's commander, he was also the keeper of the Elder's mighty roar. However, the event that would have the greatest impact on his legacy did not occur during combat. It occurred at the moment he decided. Forgiveness is a decision. Let it be forgiven. You have the option to lead with compassion rather than force. And that last tribute, it altered the course of events. Following a long period of duty guarding the Pride Lands, Kion's adventure veered. Sudden change. His mind and body were both impacted by the bite of a poisonous cobra that he sustained in combat. Because of the venom, he became irritable, agitated, and unable to think clearly. He thus took a significant step. He left his position as Lion Guard leader and journeyed to a distant land known as the Tree of Life, a haven for rare creatures and a place of profound healing. Recovering and discovering his true identity were his top priorities. Still, he had company. He was accompanied by his friends. Banga in the They Are Anga, Bashti, Ono, and Fuli. They overcame difficult terrain, cunning foes, and personal demons as a unit, but he picked up some useful information as he went. A shout isn't necessarily the sign of true strength. Letting go can be the key. He crossed paths with Queen Rani, the Night Pride's courageous and sage leader at the Tree of Life. They fought at first. Kion seemed careless to Rani. Kion felt that Rani failed to grasp his meaning. Time, however, altered that. As their cooperation progressed, their trust in one another grew, and love blossomed between them in due time. Rani begged Kion to remain with the royal family after her grandmother Janna's death and take on the role of king with her. He had never before made such a monumental decision. Could he find true purpose somewhere else? Or would he go back to the Pride Lands and his family? Although Kion was willing to follow the new rules, he had one final task to complete before he could do so. The adversaries had banded together, including Makucha, Chaloon, Ora, and others. The Tree of Life was under assault as they attempted to succeed at it. It was the last fight for Kion. Plus, he wasn't tasked with leading the Lion Guard alone this time. A realm that he hadn't even claimed yet was his to defend. Joined by Rani, the Night Pride, and his companions, he stood shoulder to shoulder. A destructive force, the roar has been in the past. Instead of punishing, Kion now uses it as a tribute to keep his enemies safe. The formidable wind he conjured up with the roar of the elders drove the adversaries far, far away into the mountains, from whence they could never be seen again. His final mighty shout as commander of Lion Guardsmen, both the force and the tranquility of the roar were under his control. When he was growing up, his sister Vatani had established her own pride of lions. Their strength was shown to Kion during his brief return for a visit. He remained silent in their face, and instead he respected them. Kion blessed Vatani as a last homage to his heritage, and the thunderous applause of the elders reached her. The legacy of Kion was this moment when the roar was let go. That he could be forceful without the roar was demonstrated by this. He held a head of state due to his character rather than his wealth. The Pride Lands were a haunting reminder of Kion's troubled past as he stood there for the final time. He had inside him the memories of the times he spent with his squad, the struggles they endured, the triumphs and defeats they experienced, the buddies who had supported him no matter what. Fuli, Bashi, Ono, and Banga came into his view. As much as they were his squad, they were also his family. Forgetting about that chapter was also part of releasing the roar. Plus, it was no picnic, but now he knew that true leadership required understanding when to give way to others. I have faith in Vatani. He made a proud face as he informed them. Also, a fresh road is ahead of us. Friends of his gave him the silent treatment. They shared his pride. Simply put, Kion hadn't only become stronger, he'd also become wiser. Upon his return to the Tree of Life, Kion was no longer an insignificant guest. His new title was king. The animals revered him alongside Queen Rani, not because of his might, but because of his kindness. A roar was no longer necessary for him to be heard. What he did, what he decided, and his. Gratitude spoke more clearly than rumbling thunder. Protecting the Tree of Life was a joint effort between him and Rani. From all directions, enemies, fear, rage, and division. They worked as a team to make each animal feel loved, valued, and connected to a greater whole. Kion went beyond his role as leader, and the Tree of Life transformed into a genuine haven. He became an emblem of tranquility. When they returned to the Pride Lands, Kovu sat down next to Kiara. Two courageous couples, Kion and Rani, had taken charge of the kingdoms at the tree, where life Kiara and Kovu were at Pride Rock, but their connection endured. Whenever he could, Kion would pay a frequent visit. He became closer to Kovu throughout those visits. They related their experiences, fears, and future goals based on what they had learned and what they planned to create. They had both overcome obstacles, although in different ways. Love molded Kovu, a man selected by Scar. A prince by birth, Kion endures the trials of agony. However, they did manage to meet halfway. Another aspect of Kion's legacy is their friendship. Two majestic lions who were once rivals but are now peaceful brothers. Years went by. At the Tree of Life, cubs were quickly born as a result of Kion and Ronnie's wise and nurturing leadership. The tale of the lion who dared to lead with his heart despite having a roar that might echo through the heavens would be passed down to these young ones. Sitting under the stars, Kion would occasionally regale them with stories of the Lion Guard, Banga's valor, Foolie's speed, Bestie's strength, Anga's acrobatics, and Ono's insight. Whenever he brought him up, he would crack a smile. Plus, he was proud regardless of the circumstance. Seeing the next generation pay attention, gain knowledge, and aspiration is inspiring. I mean, that was the true tribute. A roar, a fight, or even a title were not part of Kion's last homage. After the battle was over, that was his way of life. He was wounded, he was evaluated. Internally and externally, he had encountered darkness, but he emerged from it with grace, humility, and kindness. Both kingdoms, the Pride Lands, and the Tree of Life heard his story. Rather than being presented as an account of triumph, it serves as a humble reminder that care, not control, is the essence of leadership. It's all about trust, not fear. The majority of lions saw the roar of the Pride's elders as a tool, a source of power and thunder. It turned into more than that for Kion, though. The lesson learned is that power is a tool, and how you choose to utilize it is a matter of personal choice. What will you do with it? Inflict pain or bring healing, power, or service? It was obvious from Kion's reply. The roar was lost on him. He handed it down. He staked his claim to immortality with just one choice. Justin? Evening, Kion made his way back to Pride Rock after a long season had passed. He was greeted with open arms by Kiara and Kovu. There was no wind and the stars were out in full glory. Following in his father's footsteps, he made his way to the precipice of the cliff. In that spot where it all started, he gazed out over the landscape. He was Kion, the loving lion who discovered tranquility, shared it with others, and died with a legacy of kindness. As a result, we no longer simply recall Kion's roar when we talk about him. We will never forget his decision to take a back seat, to encourage others, and to lead with compassion. What truly set him apart was the last homage he gave. If Kion had continued to shout, what do you believe would have transpired? Please inform us in the space provided. Goodbye for now.